Think of this video as your cheat sheet for surviving Nevada's 2025 housing puzzle. Quick stat: statewide inventory is up almost 30% year over year. More listings don't mean safer bets. It means slower demand. Like this video so the algorithm thinks I'm important. We're going to uncover the 10 cities where buying right now is less of a smart move and more of a slow-motion financial trap. The invisible killers? Rising insurance costs, HOA and assessment creep, and weak job growth. Each city gets a quick diagnosis and a one-line takeaway you can actually use. And first up, the city that once promised easy flips but now feels more like financial quicksand. Number 10. Las Vegas. Las Vegas is the poster child for boom and bust cycles, and in 2025 it's tipping harder toward the bust. Remember when prices soared on endless flips and cash buyers? That energy is gone. Inventory has climbed sharply year over year, and the once tight sellers market now looks bloated with unsold listings. Pair that with sales sliding nearly 40% across the new home sector, and you've got demand evaporating while supply keeps stacking up. Here's the thing. The Airbnb dream that powered so much investor appetite is cracking under new restrictions. Properties meant to churn out weekend income now sit dark, or worse, rent below expectations. Insurance premiums are also marching up, driven by climate risk and higher replacement costs. So even if the sticker price on a house feels doable, your carrying costs creep higher every month. Investors who used to drive the frenzy, they're pulling back, leaving regular buyers to shoulder the imbalance. Picture this. You pick up a condo just off the strip. Timing feels perfect. Numbers look good. 6 months in, your monthly insurance bill jumps. The HOA hits you with a fresh assessment, and rental demand isn't what the glossy pitch decks promised. Suddenly, the math that looked solid has flipped against you. That's the whole vibe of Vegas real estate right now. It's like sitting at a blackjack table for too long. The odds grind you down while you tell yourself the next hand will turn it around. Only there's no CompTeg cocktail to soften the losses. Invisible killer here. Rising insurance and tighter short-term rental rules that sap investor demand and push resale values down. And if that feels rough, wait until you see what happens just north of here, where bargain hunters get pulled into something even riskier. Number 9. North Las Vegas. North Las Vegas is where the so-called bargains turn out to be some of the riskiest plays in the state. Prices have already fallen roughly 14% from their pandemic-era peak, which sounds like a discount. But here's the hard part. A falling market doesn't stop just because you think it should. Floors can keep sinking. Mortgage applications here have slowed to a trickle, even as builders keep rolling out new subdivisions. Wander into a model home and you'll get hit with glossy perks, rate buydowns, zero-down financing, or big closing credits. Those incentives look tempting, but they chip away at resale stability. Early buyers who locked in with credits discover that comps are based on lower net sale prices, and suddenly their deal turns into a liability. Here's the kicker. Imagine you picked up a builder promo that cut your closing cost bill in half. 2 years later, the builder offers even heavier incentives on the house across the street. Now your resale looks overpriced by comparison, even if you stuck to every rule in the book. It's like buying a new car with a rebate, only for the manufacturer to double rebates when business slows. Your car didn't change, but the market value just did. Homes here carry the same problem. What looked affordable today gets undercut tomorrow. Meanwhile, migration into the area has cooled. Lenders are cautious, and buyers know taxes and insurance weigh heavier against stagnant wages. Open houses stay on the market too long, while hesitant investors keep rental demand weaker than advertised. That creates a cycle where ownership feels more like waiting for values to erode than building wealth. Invisible killer. Incentive-driven comps and weak demand that hollow out resale value. And while that slump plays out, another city nearby tells a different kind of story. On the outside it looks polished, but underneath, monthly costs keep ambushing buyers. Number 8. Henderson. Henderson sells itself as polished and predictable. Master-planned streets, neat desert lawns, golf carts humming to the clubhouse. On the surface, it's the picture of suburbia. But look closer and you'll find what I call the hidden monthly drain. The bills that don't show up until after you've moved in are the ones that do the most damage. Inventory here has surged up about 70% year over year. More choice should mean leverage for buyers. But here's the twist. That pile of listings doesn't protect you from rising costs. Homeowners are facing bigger HOA dues, local assessments tacked on for community upkeep, and insurance premiums climbing as fire and storm risk get priced in. The dream home feels affordable at purchase, only to tighten the screws later. Picture it. You buy a Henderson home, pencil in your mortgage, and everything looks stable. Then your HOA bumps fees, insurance renews higher, and a new local assessment drops in the same year. Together, they inflate your monthly bill far beyond what you planned. You haven't changed a thing, but the carrying cost shifted underneath you. That squeeze has ripple effects. Investors are exiting quicker because higher monthly overhead eats into rental margins. What used to be a reliable cash flow formula now looks more like a slow leak. Properties sit longer on the market. Appreciation flattens out, which means equity doesn't grow, it just erodes quietly while you pay more each month to stay put. Invisible killer. Monthly cost creep assessments, HOA increases, and insurance bites that slowly erode equity. And while Henderson's drain is steady and predictable, somewhere else in Nevada the issue looks different. There, it isn't hidden costs stacking up. It's a market that once felt electric, but now struggles to hold on to its spark. Number 7. Reno. Reno once positioned itself as Nevada's tech frontier, buzzing with startups and West Coast relocations. But that momentum has cooled. The job engine that made Reno attractive, especially in tech, has slowed with layoffs and paused hiring, and that hesitation bleeds directly into housing demand. Sellers now wait longer, buyers push harder, and the days of frenzied appreciation have shifted into a crawl. Here's the thing. When your main economic driver looks shaky, confidence fades. Without reliable job growth, people think twice before buying, and listings linger. The market hasn't collapsed, but the confidence that used to spark bidding wars is gone. Median days on the market keep stretching longer, and builders now offer incentives just to keep deals alive. Insurance costs stack on top of that. Remapping of wildfire and flood zones has brought fresh surcharges, pushing premiums higher across neighborhoods that once looked affordable. Add in rising utilities and property taxes, and the edge Reno used to have on cost of living compared to bigger metros isn't nearly as sharp anymore. Picture this. A couple closes on a home in South Meadows, expecting steady climbs like years past. Instead, bills ratchet higher. Insurance, utilities, little assessments, while the home appreciates at a pace you'd barely notice. It's progress on paper, but in real life it just means paying more every month for growth you can't spend. The story feels less like a bursting bubble and more like a car running with a slow leak. The ride doesn't stop, but every mile costs a little more and wears you down. Inflation eats whatever small gains you might see, and patience only stretches so far before frustration takes over. Invisible killer. Fading job momentum plus risk zone insurance hikes that turn slow appreciation into a net loss after costs. And just down the road, the neighboring market shows what happens when waiting becomes the entire story. Number 6. Sparks. Sparks used to ride Reno's momentum, but now its housing market feels more like stalled traffic than fast lanes. Call it sparks when equity takes longer to arrive than your pizza. Homes that once sold in weeks now sit noticeably longer, and that drag eats away at both patience and returns. Here's the thing. Houses in Sparks are taking significantly longer to sell than just a few years ago. That slowdown signals buyers are choosier, while sellers wait and watch carrying costs pile up. HOA fees in newer subdivisions are creeping higher too, adding to the monthly load and draining any cushion. Investors who once swooped in for quick flips or easy rentals see flat rent growth, rising vacancies, and stricter rules on short-term listings. For them, Sparks no longer looks like fast cash, it looks like work. Picture this. You run the math and buy in Sparks, thinking the old story still applies. Low entry, quicker exit. 2 years later, you check home values and find little movement. Meanwhile, your ownership costs, HOA dues, maintenance, and community fees tick upward. It's not a catastrophe, but it's a steady leak you can't ignore. It's like buying a used car that looks picture perfect on the lot, only to learn it guzzles oil every month. The car still runs, but every refill chips away at your budget. Sparks plays out the same way. Value stands still while expenses quietly rise. Invisible killer. Stagnating demand plunge rising HOA and ownership costs that outpace modest appreciation. And while Sparks drains slowly through stagnation, the nearby market shifts the story entirely. Where one city feels stuck in place, the next one is drowning under the weight of supply. Number 5. Spanish Springs. Spanish Springs, the oversupply swamp. Drive through these neighborhoods and it's obvious, row after row of for sale signs, whole blocks waiting for offers that never materialize. Inventory has surged more than 60% year over year, but buyer demand has flatlined. That imbalance isn't temporary, it's a warning shot. Here's the thing. Builders hate sitting on unsold homes, so they cut prices and stack incentives. Appliances, closing credits, temporary rate buydowns, you name it. The deals might attract nervous buyers, but they also drag down resale comps for everyone else. Your home's value isn't defined by what you paid last year. It's defined by what the builder discounts this year. Picture this. You buy into a cul-de-sac smelling of new paint and asphalt, but outside your subdivision, it's sprawl without the extras. Limited shopping, long commutes, school crowding, and roads that clog at rush hour. The house feels new, but the town around it is under construction in all the wrong ways. Then layer in financing. With mortgage rates hovering near 7.5%, the monthly math cuts deep. And unlike markets that give you location perks or established convenience, Spanish Springs drags you through traffic, adds shallow amenities, and leaves you covering higher costs while appreciation stalls. It's like subscribing to a deluxe package and realizing half the features aren't unlocked in your region. You're paying the premium but getting the bare minimum. Invisible killer, oversupply and unfinished infrastructure. Price comps tank while lifestyle promises lag. And if that sounds bad, wait until you look at the place traditionally marketed as Northern Nevada's bargain buy. On paper it looks affordable, but the closer you get, the more it feels like a money pit wearing a discount tag. Number 4. Fernley. Fernley, cheap but crumbling. The city looks like an affordable workaround for buyers priced out of Reno or Sparks, but under the surface, the numbers tell a harsher story. Home values are already down about 11% from recent highs, and more than 30% of active listings have been discounted. That's not a healthy correction. That's a signal demand has stepped off the field. Here's the thing. Builders haven't slowed down even as buyers pull back. They keep planting new subdivisions, which means steady waves of fresh listings undercutting anyone trying to sell an existing home. The result? Resale values sag while standing inventory grows stale. And it doesn't end there. Water supply and long-term water policy are recurring concerns that make families nervous about planting roots here. Add outdated infrastructure in older areas, worn-down roads and utilities, and schools struggling with funding gaps, and you end up with a city where the low sticker price feel evaporates when you tally up the headaches. Even something as basic as digital connectivity limps along. Weak cell coverage, limited fiber internet, and not enough medical facilities, which feels like a deal-breaker in today's remote work era. Picture this. You buy what looks like a steal on paper, but within a year your water bills creep higher, your roof repair can't wait, and suddenly a new subdivision opens down the road offering lower prices per square foot. That resale potential you counted on? It's gone before you even hit your first anniversary barbecue. It's like picking up a bargain TV that keeps breaking, forcing you to pay for repairs instead of enjoying the supposed savings. The upfront discount lures you in, but the upkeep eats every dollar you thought you saved. Invisible killer, new construction glut plus local resource concerns, water and infrastructure that sap resale strength. And if Fernley's cracks are visible, the next stop shows what happens when affordable living comes bundled with basic gaps that make daily life harder. Number 3. Dayton. Dayton, affordable but disconnected. It positions itself as the budget-friendly extension of Reno, but the cracks show fast once you dig past the sticker price. Prices are down about 9% year over year, which looks like an entry point on paper. The issue is what comes bundled with that deal, a package of missing essentials that most buyers don't factor in until too late. Here's the thing. Affordability here masks limited infrastructure. Connectivity and medical access are weak in parts of Dayton, which undercuts remote worker demand. Internet can be unreliable, cell coverage is patchy, and medical options are thin. You're often driving into Reno or Carson City for routine needs. In 2025, that's not a small detail. It's the kind of hidden gap that determines whether families put down roots or bypass the town altogether. Picture this. You find a home big enough for your budget and your home office. Then day one, half your video calls fail. Your hotspot wheezes and the work from anywhere dream collapses. What looked like breathing room quickly feels like a liability if your livelihood depends on connectivity. Meanwhile, the market doesn't help. Subdivisions that promised growth now sit half-finished. Model homes are staged but empty. Open houses limp along for months, and sellers stare at the same yard signs week after week. Add fewer out-of-state buyers migrating in, and the town feels overbuilt for the level of actual demand. The story isn't a crash, it's a stall, but stalls grind down equity just as effectively. Invisible killer. Affordability traded for missing infrastructure, connectivity, and services that stop remote workers from moving in. And if Dayton shows how weak foundations can stall equity, the next stop makes it painfully clear that status alone doesn't protect a housing market. Number 2. Carson City. Carson City, capital without capital growth. Being the state capital sounds prestigious, but it doesn't show up as profit on a housing chart. Home prices here are down more than 10% from their recent highs, and instead of stability, what you see is stagnation. Government payrolls keep the economy steady on paper, but in reality, leaning on one employer, the state sets a ceiling on long-term growth. Here's the thing. A job base dominated by government means predictable checks, but not expanding opportunity. Without diverse industries, no tech hubs, no expanded manufacturing, there's nothing driving extra demand. The market can't sprint when all it has is a slow jogger setting the pace. That shows up in appreciation rates that refuse to move, leaving buyers with flat returns. Demographics add more drag. Retirees are cashing out, downsizing, or relocating entirely. Younger buyers, the group that normally fills gaps, often get squeezed out by affordability or simply bypass Carson for markets with more energy. That mismatched supply added while demand cools creates a cycle where homes linger and values slip further. Insurance costs make things worse. With large portions of the city sitting in wildfire risk zones, premiums are steadily climbing. Not spiking overnight, but rising enough to push monthly bills higher in a market that's already losing momentum. When you combine falling prices with a growing cost to carry a home, equity shrinks faster than expected. Picture this. You see a listing that promises charming capital vibes and community pride. The math behind it? A narrow job base, shrinking prices, and persistent insurance pressure. The postcard image may be dignified, but the financial return is far less flattering. Invisible killer. Limited economic diversity plus higher insurance costs that limit capital appreciation. Now shift to another market where the lure isn't prestige but price tags. Cheap land that looks attractive until every hidden expense eats away the supposed bargain. Number 1. Pahrump. Pahrump, the distant drain. From a distance, it looks like the easy workaround. Bigger lots, lower sticker prices, and plenty of space. But when you zoom in, the math breaks fast. Recent market data shows inventory up more than 40% year over year, while prices have slipped close to 12%. That's not a gentle slowdown. It's a market flashing red on supply and demand. Here's the thing. Whatever you save up front gets chewed through by carrying costs. Insurance premiums are climbing, especially in fire-prone areas. Fuel costs bite every week if you're driving into Vegas or Henderson for work. And with limited local employment, most households don't get a choice. You earn your paycheck somewhere else, and you pay for the miles to reach it. Picture this. A family buys in Pahrump, thinking they've scored $50,000 off compared to Las Vegas prices. Sounds sharp until the daily commute eats hours, gas tanks, and car maintenance. Over time, the lost money and wasted hours erase what looked like savings. Investors see the writing too. Rentals that once carried solid margins now struggle. Rents lag behind ownership costs, vacancies hang for months, and projects stall. The investor pullback leaves rows of price cuts, which only deepens the downward spiral. Cheap doesn't matter when nobody wants to buy or rent in. Pahrump's core problem isn't just housing, it's distance. Commuting turns into a second job, fuel charges stack, and local wages don't cover the gap. What's marketed as budget-friendly living ends up as a slow drain, where every mile widens the financial hole. Invisible killer. Distance costs, commute time, fuel, and lower local wages that erase headline affordability. And that brings us to the bigger picture. Nevada's housing story in 2025 isn't about dramatic flames. It's about a quieter erosion, where creeping costs and stalled demand choke out value without anyone noticing until it's too late. So here's the wrap-up. The big picture in Nevada isn't a crash, but a slow erosion of equity driven by fees, insurance, and weaker demand. Statewide inventory is up about 29.9% year over year, according to Redfin, which means more signs in yards yet less urgency from buyers. That should make you alert, not comfortable. The killers are simple: rising insurance premiums, creeping HOA fees, and job markets that don't inspire demand. Comment yes or nope if you'd move to Nevada. Subscribe because someday you'll want to escape. If you're house hunting here, ask for HOA histories, current insurance quotes, and local job data before making an offer.